to that conversation. First, let's start with the LaVar Ball conversation, which was his conversation with, we had Cuomo on CNN this morning, and it was an interview, Chris Cuomo, who's the talent on that show, and we'll talk about that conversation and then LaVar's attitude toward the president.
Right, so it was a recap this morning, and I think that the interview was late last night. Chris Cuomo of New Day, who is a CNN anchor, interviewed LaVar Ball, who is the father of one of the UCLA basketball players who was in China when they were accused of shoplifting, him and two other players. And the president, our president, President Trump, said that he helped get them back to the United States without any charges. The president initially put on Twitter that he, was hoping that the three players would thank him because he was working with the Chinese president to get them back to the States, and that ended up happening. So then those three players did end up going on and thanking the president.
Written statement,
vocalized
it.
They did. Papa Ball didn't. Papa Ball does not want to and does not think he should have to. So in this conversation with Chris Cuomo, he said that he does not think he needs to send any thanks to the president. He said, what did the president do? I would rather thank the Chinese president, not President Trump. He said, you continue to do politics and I'll be the father of my child. Let's stay in our own lanes. He thinks that he owes him no apology and no thank you. And he said this. Now that three basketball players are out of China and saved from years in jail, LaVar Ball, the father of LeAngelo, is unaccepting of what I did for his son, and that shoplifting is no big deal. Trump tweeted, I should have left them in jail. So now the president's very angry at LaVar Ball, who says that he owes the president no thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you guys hearing some disturbance in the microphone, or is that just me?
I think it's just you.
Okay, because I'm hearing all kinds of things.
I am too.
Hold on. What are the people saying?
What are they saying?
Voices. I hear voices.
Yes.
This is what happens.
Okay.
While Gray breaks out into song.
Only when you hear voices.
When I hear voices. Well, what is your opinion on this?
I think some of this is political, number one. Number two is the president did say, somebody got to thank me. So I think that probably tweaked LaVar a little bit. But again, initially, the players didn't thank the president. And it looks pretty clear the president had something to do with these guys getting out. Because shoplifting in China is a minimum 3-year sentence. It could be 10. And in China, they don't generally play well in terms of with people who break the law.
So you're saying it's political. Why isn't LaVar just saying, thank you, and moving on?
I don't think LaVar rolls that way. LaVar, if you think LaVar's going to go right, he's going to go left. And
Part
the
of
opposite.
The intrigue.
And I think that for LaVar to go, Mr. President, yes, you did get these guys home, and I thank you, I just don't think that's LaVar. I think LaVar is about LaVar, and I'm not trying to find anything negative with that, but LaVar is not the type of person that, from what I can tell, that would go out of his way to thank anybody.
Which is crazy.
He controls the volume with everything.
And I can appreciate it as someone who's entertaining. I mean, he's entertaining. At the end of the day, he has a Facebook. Ball in the Family. It's a show that they have on Facebook, a reality show. So that's popped up. He has a kid who's on the Lakers. He said that my kid's going to be on the Lakers, and then it happened. There were so many commentators for a long time saying, oh my gosh, this guy, LaVar Ball, is going to be the demise of his son's basketball career. He hasn't been doing too hot in recent games on the Lakers, but he is successful in that, right? And now LaVar is saying, my goal is to get my other two boys to the NBA. So he has LeAngelo, right? Am I saying his name correctly? He's at UCLA, and then they have a younger son. But for a second, when I think about all of this, if your son got out of having to be put in jail overseas, just thank the president. Thank whoever. Wouldn't you just thank anyone? Wouldn't you thank anyone? Who do you think you are, LaVar? Like, that's my thing. It's like you're a guy from SoCal who has 3 sons who are pretty good in basketball. But he's been able to navigate.
Right. And so what LaVar said, what at least he told Chris Cuomo, is he didn't pick my son up from a jail in China. He was at his hotel room, and they said, hey, come home. So he's saying he didn't do anything for me. He's saying, this is again LaVar, saying the president didn't do much at all to help me out. I don't think that my son was going to serve 10 years in jail. I think that if anyone needs to be thanked, it's the Chinese president. He said,
him too.
Yeah, and he said it's not like he was in the U.S. and said, okay, there's 3 kids in China, I need to go over and get them. That wasn't the thought process. He said he didn't put him on Air Force One and send him straight back home. So what LaVar is saying is that the president is taking responsibility for something that maybe he didn't really have a huge role in.
LaVar doesn't know one way or the other. He should be insinuating.
Right. So but I think he is catering to the demographic of people who dislike the president. I think it's absolutely political.
Yeah.
And yes, his son thanked the president in a written statement, as did the other UCLA players, as well as the coach. But I also think that LaVar is looking at this like a political and financial gain. He has a lot of merchandise that he can sell out of all of this. I mean, he can make himself look one way to one group of people, which will resonate with a lot of Americans.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. If the kids were still, if the 3 players were still in the Chinese jail, LaVar would not be saying this. It's it's the easy play. Once no charges have been filed, once the students are back on U.S. soil, it's all over with. LaVar can go, I had him taken out of jail. I mean, it's easy to be the tough guy now.
Yeah.
He wasn't being the tough guy when they were still locked up.
I just
it's
think about,
easy for LaVar. LaVar's a promoter. He's just a promoter.
Yeah.
And he does
his boys?
I am trying to step away from not liking him. I'm trying to go, okay, what are the reasons why I don't like LaVar Ball or I'm feeling this way about him? And then I step back and I go, if there's a way you can promote yourself, your sons, a multi-million-dollar, possibly a billion-dollar company, you have to be outlandish. You have to be a P.T. Barnum.
Right.
You have to say things people have never said before, kind of like Charles Barkley back in the day. You have to, and he's doing all this. He is, by the way he is, he's selling product. This is the way to do it. If you're thinking the way he does it.
And
we're talking about it.
Doesn't Trump appreciate that at the end of the day, being Mr. Businessman? So do you think at some point maybe all of this is a big ploy and maybe they're good? They're friends on this side and this is creating this is good press for Trump because he's saying all I want is a thank you. And then you have LaVar, which is good press because any press is good press for the big baller brand.
Well, something that I heard this morning after the interview with Chris aired, and then they replayed parts of it, and they had 2 commentators on CNN this morning. One of the commentators said, look, the president is clinging to, this will look good for my campaign. Yeah. There are African-American students who are abroad. I don't look very good to the African-American community after the Colin Kaepernick NFL stuff. So now I'm going to take this into a situation where I can appease a demographic of people who maybe didn't like me very much, is what one of the commentators was saying. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I mean, I think that either way, the kids are back in the United States. They did not go to jail. And if you're the parent of one of those students, I can imagine that by not saying thank you, you are making many more waves than by just saying thank you. So yes, if he's looking at this as a financial gain, he's probably going to hit much more of a mark doing it this way than if he were to say, thanks, President, end of discussion, nobody's talking about it.
I think the president won the presidency without that demographic. I don't see that he's going after that demographic. I mean, he just hit Marshawn Lynch again 2 days ago for kneeling for the American anthem and standing for the Mexican national anthem. So, again, like LaVar Ball, you think he's going to go left, he goes right. The president, you think he's going to go left, he's going to. You've got 2 guys you think are going to go left and going to go right, and they're missing each other here. And I think LaVar Ball is now controlling the volume in this whole discussion.
Ball is in his court.
He is controlling the volume. The president wants to be thanked for this, and LaVar is like, he's now above the fray on this.
The thing is, he doesn't have to.
LaVar is running this now. He's running the president in this because the president is agitated by this, and LaVar doesn't care.
By law, you don't have to thank anyone. You know what I mean? Like it's to him, he's going to keep playing this because he knows he can. Yeah. So we had some of our viewers chiming in. Thank you, everyone. I wanted to get to David Wong. He said, David Wong, yes, well, LaVar is trying to work something due to his son's sudden notoriety. It was all about Lonzo for a long time with Lakers, and now attention on LiAngelo, good or bad. Maybe this is his chance to.
LaVar goes, it ain't no big deal.
Bring him on up from UCLA.
One could argue that getting caught shoplifting in China is a big deal, But again, according to LaVar, it ain't no big deal. Everybody's home. It's over with, and on we go. So
and the president did say this on November 19th. His secondary set of tweets said, "Shoplifting is a very big deal in China, as it should be. 5 to 10 years in jail. Not to Father LaVar. Should have gotten his son out during my next trip to China instead. China told them why they were released. Very ungrateful."
The president has a valid point that I feel he got those 3 kids out of there way sooner than they would have based on Chinese People's Republic of China law. It's 3 years minimum for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If the president didn't. And the other thing is, the United States government, through President Trump, had to call in a chip, had to call in a favor to a government that we're not simpatico with. So now we owe China something because we asked for a favor and got it.
Right.
So what's the chip? What chip is going to be called in at some point?
Free.
You know, this is a big game. You know, I mean, U.S.-Chinese relations are a big game, and we had to call in a chip for this. And the father of one of the kids involved in the chip is choosing to not say thank you.
Yeah, I just think at some point there's that line of like, okay, you can be the big baller brand and the big personality and all of that, but at some point you kind of just put that aside for 2 seconds, thank whoever made it happen, right? Whoever made it possible, and then get back to being the big baller brand and all of this. It's just you're talking about foreign relations.
LaVar's LaVar. LaVar is consistent.
Getting bigger.
Yeah.
LaVar, I will to LaVar. LaVar is being consistent with how he is and who he is, and he is not going to get off the rails for anybody.
No.
He's
Can't get
controlling the volume.
Are you seeing these comments, Dina?
Yeah. So Kim Vaughn said, China of all places to steal from. They're lucky to be home and should be thankful. The dad is an embarrassment. The son is a thief. But then Amy said the players thanked him. That should be enough. Do you think that that's enough? I think if the father had a platform on now is your moment, the president is watching, do you want to thank him on national television? And when he doesn't take that moment to do that, I feel like now the conversation has turned away from it being just enough from the players. I feel like now the father probably should have said thank you.
It was over with. Once the players thanked the president, it was over with until LaVar goes, I don't think the president had anything to do with it.
Right.
It was the Chinese, and it's like now, and then the tweets come from the White House. You know, and like I said, LaVar's the puppet master here, and everybody else is the puppet.
Jennifer Sconen Prince, I think his son's basketball career is over. Shoplifting is a big deal. Teach your kids morals. Do you think his career is over now that he has been suspended at UCLA?
No, not at all. He's suspended, but we don't know for how long. Yeah. Again, I think UCLA is doing their due diligence. The kids will be suspended for as short a period of time until this blows over with. And then on we go. LiAngelo will be in the NBA probably next year. UCLA will make the tournament.
How is he in terms of a player? Because I hear he's not as good as Lonzo.
Don't know. Lonzo was a top 2-3 pick. LiAngelo doesn't have to be a top 2 or 3 pick in order to be in the NBA next year. He could be a mid to late first round. And if he's anything like his brother, he'll be somewhere drafted in the NBA if that's his call. And again, LaVar's the puppet master.
All right, I think
those kids are going to play. LiAngelo is going to play this year. He's probably going to play well, and he's going to probably be in the NBA next year. Those are my probablys.
And Brian Ramirez, on that note, says LaVar should thank the president for bringing back his son. The president should leave the football players alone.
Football
it's all about the lane, right?
Did she say football players?
Yeah, football.
Right.
So for the national anthem. So
okay, separately with Marshawn Lynch and all the
Marshawn,
So is there a lane? Should the president be in a certain lane at this point?
Wow, there's how much time do we have here?
Not that we're going to answer that question.
You want to go down that exit ramp, huh?
We like to just pose questions and throw it out there. Okay.